in America and in Europe, the dating relationship world is very different than in a lot of other places in the world. And I understand that the reaction that a lot of the men have are because of that situation. So they come here with that in mind, and they're excited, and I'm going, and this is what I want to do, and men are on the hunt, and this is the way that I'm going to achieve what I want to achieve. I want to find a woman, I want a wife, this is what I want to do, this is what I have to do to get there. Because these are the steps. And what ends up happening is we don't have the same situation here that you have in those countries.
What up, what up, what up? What's happening? Que lo que miente. Welcome to Love, Purpose, and Passports. Hope all is well and all are passport ready, passport getting ready. For those of you that don't know, I am Mr. Pro for you, living in Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic. Ooh, she looking good today. Miss Pro for you.
Hello and saludos.
So how you doing today, Miss Pro?
I'm doing great, my lord. Thank you so much for asking me. How are you?
I am enjoying looking over here.
Que lindo.
I had to go back in the room and change shirts. You know what I'm saying? Came out here looking like, So, Miss Pro, we got a good video for them today, right?
We absolutely do. I'm excited.
This right here, we got some relationship talk for you guys. It's been a minute, but we know you need this.
You've always asking for it. Yeah.
We need this too.
Mm-hmm.
We like dropping them gems on you. You know what I'm saying? Because it seemed like here, guys either be mad or glad. You know what I'm saying? Ain't never nothing in between. Like, dang, homie. No, but we got a good one for you today. We're going to talk about dating Dominicanas in the Dominican Republic.
Mm-hmm.
Do's and don'ts and wills and won'ts.
Okay, ready?
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to do the...
Oh.
So our first topic has to do with dating women with no job, or maybe dating women of a lower job tier than what you have.
Mm-hmm.
What that brings.
Yes. Dating women with no jobs or lower tier jobs.
Mm-hmm.
So this one, we've talked about dating women with no jobs, but this is the first time we added lower tier jobs. So we're going to split it up, because they're not the same. We're going to start off with your favorites, dating women with no jobs, so we can get this one out the way. Don't do it. Most of the time. You know what I'm saying? Some of you fellas know how to handle that, you know what I mean? But look, we told you over and over before, when they don't have a job, besides the fact that, they're going to have to depend on you, but who and what have they been depending on all this time? Where they been getting this money from? And I know when you met them, they were looking good. Where'd they get the money to look good? Who's been financing those good looks? Those are things you got to be concerned about when you decide to date a chica that, has no job. What do you think about that, beautiful lady of mine?
Well, I maybe have a little bit of a different perspective, right? I understand that there's a traditional, like an ideology, right? Mm-hmm. And that a lot of men would prefer a traditional woman who would just, I guess, stay at home and not work and take care of things. And that's perfectly fine. But I don't think she's supposed to start out in a home without you there, not doing anything and kind of not taking care of anything. And that's not even really realistic here. Right now, with the way the economy is, and not even right now, I'm going to say since maybe the the 80s, the 80s and 90s, women have been more in the workforce just because of the economy, just because of the way things are. But that doesn't make them any less traditional. Like the idea of traditional that they have in the US is not the same thing as traditional that they have here. Traditionally, women will work and they'll have jobs and then they'll still come home and take care of like home and the kids. It's a different idea. So if you see a woman who doesn't have a job and isn't really doing anything and isn't really trying to do anything, you might want to consider, how is she sustaining herself?
And how is she been sustaining herself? Just think, she caught your eye, and I know she wasn't wearing dirty clothes with, her hair undone. Who's doing that?
I mean, I think the only situation where you would meet a woman who's not, kind of working is if maybe she's a full-time student and lives with her parents and they're taking care of, their daughter who's full-time in school. That would be maybe a situation that
a student. That's
I can
a little
kind
different,
of understand. But, an adult woman that's not doing
ain't no 35-year-old student that ain't, but I mean, somebody who's paying, how has she been sustaining herself all this time? You're going to have to investigate and all that. Now, I will say, there's a difference between not having a job and being between jobs.
Of course.
You know what I'm saying? You can excuse her between a job. You just don't make sure she ain't between jobs. Make sure she's not between those two jobs. You know what I'm saying? But
I think I understood that.
That's all. You know what I'm saying? You want to make sure she's between employment, not jobs. So there's a difference in that, but what we're trying to do is we're talking to you guys that we know eventually want to end up in a relationship, not guys who are, just out here doing what they do, a job. Usually a woman with no job, you really don't want to take on that because it's too much. You got to try to find out and investigate. And who wants to start off investigating?
Exactly.
It's a little bit different. But let's move on to this new thing because we talked about that so many times. Don't do it. But let's move on to if she has a lower tier job. What happens is with these lower tier jobs, it's not that they're a red flag, but I would say that a lot of you aren't ready for that mentally, and I'm not going to say financially, but you got a young lady, she has a lower tier job. She's going to need you for some things. She's going to need some money, and it might not be like the no job chicas, but I know that there's a lot of getting used to you guys have to go through, before you're ready to, dish out those ducats like safely. So you don't want to have to be thinking twice like, oh, she asked me for some money, but you're not realizing that, look, her job, she has a job. She really has a job. But, we did a video about the wages here, so a lower tier job, not really going to have the wages, but at least you have the peace of mind of knowing that she is a working young lady.
Not a working girl, a working young lady.
Working young lady.
Okay. I have something to add, but maybe more long term, not just dating right off the beginning. That's gonna bring, I guess, differences in some of the things that you both like to do. And I'm not saying you can't work around those things. That's perfectly fine. But let's say that you wanna maybe bring her around your friends, and your friends all work in a certain, they work in a certain field and she works in another field, and maybe she doesn't understand what that situation is going to be like. And it's perfectly fine as long as you prepare her for it and you just kind of tell her, what's going on. You two, between the two of you, you'll figure it out. It'll be fine. But I'm just telling you that to kind of think about it and consider it and maybe look at it from her perspective. When you do start doing things together and she does start meeting your family and your social circle. So that's something to think about. So not a red flag.
That is something to think about.
Something to, consider and prepare her for.
Yeah.
Okay.
because we don't want to only talk about terrible women. We just want to talk about women that may be a little bit of a different situation for you that you're not thinking about. And here's another thing. Don't be afraid to like seek out women that have good jobs. I know that you guys a lot of you ain't trying to hear this modern woman stuff, but it's not the same here. A woman that has a decent job here is a woman that has a decent job. She can have a good job that's considered still a good job, but doesn't mean she's making $1 million and doesn't feel like she's a bad bee.
So he's talking about me, right? I have a pretty okay job, and I'm not like super rich, and I've never been super rich, and I don't walk around thinking I'm a bad bee, right? And all of the women that I know, they all work in offices, or they have like their own little businesses, and we don't run around thinking we're, conquering the world, or they all have husbands. Like everyone is kind of doing their thing, and the husband works and the woman works, and they go home and everyone is taking care of the house and the kids, and everything is pretty normal. It's a little bit different than I think the way a lot of you are experiencing life and relationships in the US. And I guess we kind of wanted to remind you of that, because if we don't tell you, you won't know that. You just may not know.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with seeking out a young lady that has a career or has a good job. It's and like she was talking about the traditional thing, you a lot of you that may be thinking about that are like, well, it doesn't matter if she has a job. Well, that's a US mindset, thinking it doesn't matter that she has a job. Here is different. It does matter that she has a job. And I'm gonna give you another real reason that it matters whether she has a job. A woman that doesn't have a job, or even may have a lower tier job that really doesn't pay much, a lot of times their life consists of being in survival mode. Do you want a young lady that's in survival mode at all times? That's
an interesting way.
Yeah, that's not really a thing. The survival mode, they're in day to day. They're not really sure where the next, there's just a different dynamic. When you are meeting a young lady or trying to get involved with a young lady, the different dynamic is meaning that you may not really understand what really comes with that. Something comes with everything. Just like guys be saying, I want a chica from the campo. You do, but you don't know what all comes with that. You ain't from the campo, and I always say that. Because you guys always say, you got to go get you one. But you just don't know what comes with everything comes with something that you being from America, you'll have to adjust to, or you'll be surprised about, or you won't really know that comes with that.
I want to add a misconception about a chica from a campo. So because she's from a campo, that doesn't mean she doesn't go to school and she doesn't work. Right? Just because she lives in a campo, that just means that her family maybe lives in someplace that has a lot of farmland. That doesn't mean that there aren't like universities in the campos, and they're not like studying and going to school and working. So because you meet someone who happens to live in a region that would be considered a campo, that doesn't mean that she's unemployed or that she's, I don't really understand the thought process behind that. Like most people here, we need to work. Most people here are not rich. You go to houses and the mother and the father will work. I mean, if you're in a situation where you're blessed, where you can live off of one income, amen. But most people aren't. Honestly.
And even the misconception about the U.S. thinking that our grandmothers and all of them didn't work. I don't know where my people got that from. That our grandmothers, only our grandfathers worked and our grandmothers didn't work. Maybe some of the grandmothers didn't work, but my grandmother had 6 kids and she still worked. When we look at all the old movies of our people, who was taking care of the other people's houses? Who were the maids and who were the, who took care of, and I'm not talking about in slavery days. I'm just talking about the old days of our grandparents. They worked, so there's nothing, this idea that, you got to come here and a traditional man does this and traditional man does that. That's the problem with approaching relationships based off of talking points type of information, because these talking points a lot of times lose a whole lot of context and become the popular thing to say, about, traditional women and all of these things. But I just remember why I always say things about the campo, and it's because you would always hear a guy say, no, you got to go to the campo to get a good woman. Well, of course, I'm going to speak on that because I didn't go to the campo to get a good woman. So that's what, because I was like, why do I always say that's why? Because they were always saying that as if all the angels are there. All the angels aren't there. There's women there, good ones and bad ones. There are good ones here and bad ones there. Mm-hmm.
Well, I have something to add about you said something really interesting. We've had this conversation before where we go back and we think about our grandmothers.
Mm-hmm.
And my grandmother, who was from a campo, she was raised in Moca. And she was married to my grandfather at a very, very young age. And she would tell us stories how she would work part-time in a little school. And so even though my grandfather was working, she still went and kind of worked at a little school and helped out there. And it might not have been like a full-time, but she still worked. And then my mom worked. And my dad worked. And, the culture that we have has always been we kind of have always worked. And it hasn't been a negative thing or a stressful thing. It's just we all understand that we're working class people. We don't have it like that.
Working class people. I don't know where, sometimes things go off the rails sometimes. And
there's nothing wrong with that.
Every single talking point goes off the rails. It goes beyond the context of, what was originally said. So this traditional thing about, the guys got to go there and you got to, she's not going to work. Well, I mean, she might not work. But I'm just talking about your mindset of thinking that, no women anywhere worked,
Or that because she works, she's not a good woman.
No, that's...
How is that?
No, they need to stop with that. And I'm telling you, that's what originally started me always bringing up the campo, because it's like, oh, that's what the campo... Listen, you ain't... I don't know what y'all thinking, but a lot of times these things come from guys who don't know any better. You're coming here and you're thinking that the mindset of the women here is the mindset of the women in the United States, and that it's evolved at the same speed that it's evolved in the United States. And it's just not the case.
I think I could add to that too. Women look at other women that aren't like working and doing anything like, so what are you gonna do with your life? They kind of look at her like, so you're just gonna what, run the streets or go from boyfriend to boyfriend, or what are you gonna do with your life? That's not like looked upon right. You're a young lady and you're working age and you're just not working because you're lazy. Or I mean, I understand if you're married and you and your husband agree that that's the direction your family's gonna go, that's fine. We're talking about single ladies. We're talking about single ladies that are of an age where they can be employed. Yep. So women look at other women like, so you just are not doing anything? You have nothing going on with your life? Yep. I mean, don't tell me you just like cooking and cleaning. You could cook and clean an entire house by 10 in the morning and be done. So then what are you doing from 10 to what? What? Mm-hmm. So. Yep.
Devil's Workshop. And see, also, I did a video years ago about PT, MW, SD, post-traumatic modern woman stress disorder.
That was a good video.
You get here and you think that a career woman here is equivalent to how you see career woman in the United States, which means she don't need no man.
I need mine. I like mine.
Yeah, and so that a lot of times in the back of your head, in your mind, in the back of your mind, makes you not even try to look for a successful Dominican woman while you're here, or probably in any of these other countries, and That's just not the right way to approach things.
Good thing you're telling them too, because they would have no idea.
Yeah, that's not the right way to approach things, because you just don't know what you're getting into when you try to downgrade. And I'm not speaking to put down the women that don't have jobs, except the ones that are doing the wrong thing, not having a job. You know, I'm never going to big that up. But I just mean, like, as far as your compatibility and you being able to, you know, make things happen. All of us aren't the same. There are some guys, look, when it comes to relationships, you make it work with who you make it work with. I don't have anything to say about anything. If you make it work with her, you made it work with her because of your combination and her combination. And you did that. But I just mean, we talk a lot about the unexpected expectations, you know, the unrealistic expectations that you have sometime when you get here based on your American experiences, you know, and based off guys telling you things, influencers influencing you with their unsuccessful relationships and dealings that were unsuccessful with women here.
You would think that you would take the advice of someone that has something that you want, not someone that has just been failing miserably.
Yeah, they don't frame it like that. They frame it like players. You know, I'm out here doing. But no,
I mean, if that's what you know, but
no, they're not. They just framing it like, you know, they're sticking and moving because it's just all gravy.
Sticking and moving. Ooh.
You know. We don't promote sticking and moving. We promote sticking and staying here. I'm just saying, this is what we do. You know, so we're not talking to them. It's for stickers and stayers.
Yeah. What the hell was that? So we are up to number 2.
Ooh, I think we took an hour on number 1. We didn't mean to do that.
Yeah, I don't know how that happens. Sometimes when we start talking, we just
go.
And you're just here watching us. I'm talking to him. Like number 2 is dating with intention.
Dating with intention was like very popular for a while. And I believe Kevin Samuels made that popular.
Okay.
You know. And so, okay. But again, once something becomes a talking point, sometimes the context gets lost. I believe that when we would hear Kevin Samuels talking about that, he was talking to a young lady most of the time. He wasn't really talking to men. He was talking to women. And I'm not saying a man shouldn't date with intention, but we have to always go back to the context of when we heard it the most, you know? And so I want to tell you that dating with intention is hurting a lot of you. I'll tell you why. Besides the fact that it's a talking point, is because we tend to come in strong and intense when you tell us to date with intention, you know, coming in like, you know, we sitting there down and, you know, we vet like, so what are you doing with your life? And, what are you planning? You know, just the interrogation and the investigation, you know, and everything. So remember, we're talking about dating, and dating is supposed to be an enjoyable time of getting to know her, you know, not getting to interrogate her, not getting to investigate her, because you have plenty of time to do that. Now, you may see some things, but you shouldn't be seeing things through the eyes of an investigator at first, because dating has always been something that's supposed to be enjoyable. You think about that.
Yeah. I was going to say, in America and in Europe, the dating relationship world is very different than in a lot of other places in the world. And I understand that the reaction that a lot of the men have are because of that situation. So they come here with that in mind, and you know, they're excited, and I'm going, and this is what I want to do, and men are on the hunt, and this is the way that I'm going to achieve what I want to achieve. I want to find a woman. I want a wife. This is what I want to do. This is what I have to do to get there. Because, these are the steps. And what ends up happening is we don't have the same situation here that you have in those countries. So we don't understand that intensity. We don't understand the line of questioning. We don't even understand why you almost seem a little bit angry. And we don't know why. We're just looking at a nice looking guy who we're interested in maybe having a little fun with. Go out and have some coffee, maybe dance a little bit, maybe get something to eat, crack some jokes, laugh, get to meet each other, spend some nice quality time with you. Yep. We're really not understanding why you're so intense. And it's not because she's not interested in you or because she doesn't care. It's just we have two really different experiences when it comes to dating. We still date for fun.
Yep. And that's what dating's supposed to be. And when you think about it, there has been a lot of crashing and burning with guys dealing with young ladies here. Now, I could see it, you guys were jumping into marriage, but a lot of you are crashing and burning during dating, and I don't understand how. Well, I do understand that it's happening, but dating is not supposed to have a crash and burn mechanism attached to it. Dating is supposed to be, we're just seeing if we like each other. It's not even a relationship. I can see if the relationship, when the relationship fails, there can be a lot of disappointment and a lot of feelings hurt and all kind of things like that. I acknowledge that, but this is what happens with dating, and intention leads you into the relationship too fast.
Right.
You're supposed to just be sitting back, still enjoying yourself, multiple trips, multiple, months, and just enjoying yourself. Take it slow. Slow can never be your enemy. It can only help you, because while you're taking it slow, the clock is still ticking and you're still getting to know the person. And it can't go wrong when you're getting to know them, even if getting to know them reveals that they're not the one for you.
Yeah, I was going to add something about getting to know them, and I think vetting. So the more you get to interact with someone, the more their true self kind of reveals themselves. You can come in and you can ask someone a bunch of questions, but you're never truly going to get to know someone until you see how they act and treat you and everyone else around them in certain situations. And that takes time. So you can try to ask them questions and maybe scan or vet, but you're really not going to be able to get the answers that you want until you date and you take time and you get to see the person who they really are. Yeah, so that's why when he said go slow, it made more sense. People don't really show who they really are right away. And I'm not saying because they're hiding anything. I'm just saying most people, it takes time to get to know them until they're fully, completely comfortable with you. And then they could just kind of feel free around you. That takes time.
Yes. And they don't know anything about dating with intention here. Dating is dating. So imagine you're dating with intention, which means you're already vetting and looking at all these things, and she's just dating you for fun. You haven't even made it to the stage of where you're even on the same page with moving forward. You're dating with intention, she's dating for fun. You can't help but see red flags because she's not on the same page as you. You're not on the same page, so you're going to see all kinds of things that, don't mesh with a person who's dating with intention, But you have to realize phases are phases. We talked about this before, that you can't expect that when you two start off that you're just automatically going to be at the same speed and on the same page. That doesn't happen. It can happen, but it doesn't always happen. So be careful with the dating with intention, because I don't even think that was originally advice for you. It sounds good, but it runs you into situations too fast. date for fun. If you date for fun, what's the worst that can happen? The fun ends. But you haven't ran into a situation where now you hate all these Dominicanas, you hate the Dominican Republic, and matter of fact, you hate all women, because you need some time that you need to heal. That'd be healing. You need some time to heal. Look, don't do that. We're talking about dating, and it needs to be clarified, because somehow dating has gotten lost. That all of a sudden dating is connected to something. No, let dating be dating. Come here and enjoy yourself. Dating is supposed to be fun, getting to know her. That's it, not dating. Date with the intention of, that's it.
What? I was gonna add to that, but you ruined it. I was gonna talk about how when we were dating, but you ruined that right now. So
I had no intention. You know what my intention was.
Come on. Our third point is dating baddies.
I know y'all like dating baddies. I know y'all like thinking about dating baddies. Y'all over IG. Y'all all over IG seeing the baddies. Listen, I don't have nothing against you dating the baddies. The problem is the baddies are young, popping, and that's fine for the baddies. But y'all always go and fall for the baddies. What do you expect to happen when you fall for a baddie? What always happens? She's still in the partying phase, and the baddies are fun. Next thing, you want to settle down with a baddie. That never happens. That's why she's a baddie. You get out of your, all of a sudden you want to pump the baddie brakes. Don't do that. You know what I'm saying? And this is why I tell y'all, hey, leave. She's always mad. Her little thumb never thumbs. Take those little thin cheek thumbs. But look, no, seriously, you run into problems with the baddies. Because just like we're having this conversation about dating, yeah, if you got a baddie you can date, but leave it at that. Why are you trying to make a baddie into a goodie? Don't do that. It doesn't work out like that. They doing what they do, and now you want to try to come change it into something else. It never works. The next thing, again, you're mad at Dominican. Oh, those Dominicans, they don't do this. Stay away from the baddies. There are some beautiful women here. There's some good-looking, nice women here. Leave the baddies alone if you can't handle the baddies. And since this is Love, Purpose, and Passports, and we talking to you relationship brothers, you can't handle the baddies. It's gonna cause a problem. You're gonna want to settle down with the baddie. They don't settle down. What do you think?
I mean, you said it. You said it. They're in full party mode, and if you're not in full party mode with them, it's gonna be a problem. It's gonna be fun in the beginning, and then when you don't want to do the party scene anymore, and you don't want to be a socialite anymore, and she still wants to be the party socialite person, it's gonna be a little bit of a problem for you. Yep. So, take it for what it is. Have some fun, date. Have some
fun, but this is why we telling you dating is dating. But right now, y'all don't need to be dating no baddies. Just get a hang of the dating part first, And for some of you younger gentlemen, it's harder because you're around the baddies' ages, So do what you can. She hurt your feelings. It doesn't matter. Keep it moving, She ain't want to settle down. She lied to you. She was popping. She was at the club when she said she was at home. Didn't call you back. All that is because you dating the baddie. Don't date the baddie. And you older gentlemen, some of you, my older fellas, next thing you know, you helping her get the BBL tuned up, and then she ain't talking to you no more like that.
Yeah.
BBL be needing to get tuned up every now and then, don't it? They be getting they get the BBLs tuned up. Look, let the baddies be. Unless you can handle it. Some of my dudes, I know y'all can handle it. I know some of y'all can handle it. I'm not talking to you.
Oh.
You fellas, keep doing what you're doing. You know, these are my sophisticated gentlemen right here. They know how to handle the baddies. You know, some of you other brothers, listen, stay in your lane. Then you be mad at me, talking about, oh, he said this and said that. I ain't told you to get with no baddies. Leave the baddies alone.
Can't you find like a half a baddie? 3/4 of a baddie? Like, not a full baddie, just like someone that has baddie qualities, like just
you
a
do
little
need to
bit
get a goodie. Just get a goodie. The goodies
goodie.
look good. Get you a goodie. Leave them alone. You know, until you get your feet flat on the ground. You really know what you're doing. You moving around here. You know, like you know about that life. Leave them alone. You're in a delicate situation when you first get here. You know, trying to get get yourself back together. You know what I mean? You've been going through all this turmoil and trauma. You ain't ready for the baddies yet. Stick to the goodies.
So topic number 4 is quality communication.
Quality communication. So before we go any further about that, what is quality communication? Quality communication is you two being able to talk to each other and pass information between each other that, you know, that is valuable to each other, that you really consider, you know, helping you get to know the other person. That kind of communication, you know. I know a lot of you fellas think communication is, you know, going live. You know, she go live on you. You know, she put on them shorts, set that phone up on the counter and then start cooking in them shorts. Yeah, I know. That's a little bit of communication. And it's a little bit of quality communication. But that can't be the only communication. Gotta talk sometimes. You know what I'm saying? I know I been there, fellas. They're good. But I'm just saying, you know, can't go live all the time. You know what I mean? You go, you know, you video chat. It's called chatting, video chat. Don't be going live, you know, IRL live streaming all the time. Maybe once a day, but don't let it be the whole thing. You gotta talk and, you know, find out if she's interested in you. How do you find out if she's interested in you? By talking. You know what I'm saying? When you start talking, you find out if she's asking questions about you. Right, beautiful lady of mine?
Yeah. It's interesting that you said that if you find out if she's interested in you or if she's asking questions about you. And I wanted to bring up language and communication barriers. I know that a lot of people will come to the DR and will meet women that either have no English skills or limited English skills. Some speak some pretty good levels of English here. There are some English speakers, but let's say that you get into a dating phase with someone that has low level of English, and maybe you might not be able to get into like a profound, deep conversation with her using the translators.
Right.
But what would make the conversation quality is if it's not like one-sided. If it's not like you trying to ask her questions and you interested in what it is that she's doing and you making an effort to understand her. What would make that quality is that she is also trying and making an effort. Is she using translation apps? Is she going back and picking up a couple of words and maybe adding them to the conversation as it goes? Is she formulating questions in her mind that she wants to know about you and then translating it and then sending it to you? Does she have like a genuine interest in who you are as a man? Yep. You know, so even if the communication is not a fluid, you know, communication back, is she putting an effort into it?
Yeah, no, it doesn't have to be fluid. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Right.
When she wants to get to know you, she will figure out a way to start getting to know you.
Right.
You know what I mean? She won't just distract you with the lives, because that's how you can really set yourself up to get played, or, you know, some of these more unpleasant situations that occur is you ain't really took the time to find out like if she's interested in you.
Right.
You know, you just know you're interested in that. Like, oh yeah, I like that.
I have a pretty cool example. we did a consultation for a couple. We do couples consultations a lot. And in one of the consultations, the lady that I spoke to, her English was limited, but they were having communication problems because I don't really remember what the argument was about, but it wasn't a bad argument. It was more of a misunderstanding. But the point is that when she came into the conversation to me, she had a list of things that she wanted to understand about him and just questions. And she was saying, well, how come when I ask him this, he'll say this? And I'm like, because in English, that means this and this and this. She's like, oh, well, how come this and this and this and this? And it was really sweet to see how interested she was and how ready. She just had like a list of questions that she was asking me and things that she wanted to know. And that was really nice. And then, you know, when my husband went back and had like a conversation with her husband about it, or her boyfriend, I don't think they were married, the conversation about it, he felt really good that she was really involved and invested in the whole conversation to try to get over some of the communication barriers that they were having. And it was really sweet to see how they were both fully invested in making it work. So that's like a really good example.
Where there's a will, there's a way. But you need to be able to, quality communication is because you need to identify whether she's really interested in you. Because that seems to be a problem a lot of times, that, you know, you feel like they're interested in you, then you find out that they're not. Well, taking your time and communication going on, you'll be able to tell, because she can't just fake finding out about you. She doesn't have time for that. She wants to know about you. There'll be it leads to deeper conversations, and it leads to deeper questions, and asking about, you know, your past, and you know who you were, and you know what your plans were. What have you gone through in your life, and things like that. You know, those are the things that allow you to bond with each other, because you begin to talk about those things with each other and really get to know each other. Quality communication needs to happen, and it should happen while you're dating. You know, if you have any idea that, or if you want any signs that it should maybe go to the next stage. Yeah. This is what dating is supposed to do. Find out, do you really like each other? And part of finding out, do you really like each other, is find out, does she really like you? You know, she'll want to know, do you really like her? Sure. We know you really like her. We already know that. See, we ain't have to ask that right now, because we know you need to find out if she really likes you. That hasn't been a problem, liking them.
Topic number 5. What do you want out of it?
What do you want out of this dating? I'm going to reiterate, this was about dating, you know, because dating has gotten mixed up with a lot of different things. We dating now. Knowing what you want out of it isn't contradicting the part about dating with intention. Two separate things. I mean, you know, a good woman, a good relationship, a good wife, you know, or all three, you know. But most of the time, the point of dating is to find out if she's a good woman. You know, the next phase is a good relationship, and that's finding out if she's a good woman for you, because she can be a good woman. She just may not be a good woman for you. But you're finding out. The next phase for relationship is finding out if she's a good woman for you. And the next phase is finding out if she's a good wife for you, you know. And when you look at those things, those three, how can any of those phases be rushed? Because each phase, for the next phase to come in correctly, requires the first phase to be finished. You know, the first phase have gone through its phase, not rushing into the next one or you miss something, you know. But the point of this is taking the pressure off of the dating phase. That was really the point of this whole video, because that's why we laughed. That's why I crack a bunch of jokes, but we still wanted to tell you some real things in between, because somehow the dating phase is getting mixed in with the relationship phase. And when really that whole thing should have been dating. What do you think, beautiful lady?
Yeah, I agree. And frankly, you're missing out, man. Dating is fun. I was trying to talk about when we were first dating in the beginning, but you made it awkward and I couldn't go there with you. But I think I could talk about it now. we had a great time dating. Like, we dated for such a long time and we had so much fun. And in that fun, we kind of got to know each other. And it was a great experience to go through with him. And I appreciate the whole dating process so much. I mean, I had such a good time. I know you had a great time too. And I would feel sorry for someone to not be able to experience that. Yeah, that's like one of the best, you know, beginner phases. Yeah,
it's part of the journey. You know, and there's no cap.
The flirting and the laughing and the giggling and the acting like you didn't buy something new to wear and this whole thing. I just threw it up. You know, the whole flirty back and forth thing is adorable. You know, and women really like that too. And frankly, if a woman sees that you're like moving too fast, you might scare her away. I mean, that's not really normal here. And because it's not normal here, they're going to look at you like, well, what's going on with him that he's so intense? Yeah. So you might end up kind of messing up a good thing if you are a little bit too intense and you miss the whole fun part of it all. Do you know what I'm saying?
And so, exactly. And so let's make it clear that rushing is not the same as the intensity that comes with it. The intensity with, you know, rushing mentally and the intensity with, like we said, dating with intention and all of that stuff. It's the intention that makes it awkward or that ruins it or something like that. We're telling you, you know, to come here and enjoy yourself as long as you can. You know, and maybe you'll enjoy yourself for years and years going through the phases. I'm still enjoying myself around here. You know, I don't know what.
We still date. We still date.
We do. I mean, you see, look, our adventures are dates now. Don't get it twisted now. You know, these are dates, but yeah, of course we still date. You know, and of course
as much as we can.
Yeah, as much as we can. You know, I still, you know, have those intentions. You know, and I was talking about. You know, and I still got those intentions.
And I am happy with those intentions.
Yeah. But this whole thing was, listen, you know, I did a video recently and it was, you know, I had to send a lot of people to the block party, you know, and to the you know, excommunicate a lot of them because it's just so much anger, you know, and so many, you know, it's one thing to have hurt feelings, but just so much anger and nastiness that how is that happening and you just dating? Because you forgot how to date. You know, you forgot that you're somewhere else. You're not in the States. No matter what they say, oh, they're becoming like the States. Shut up. This is not the States. It's just not. You're making it too hard. But at the same time, it's not your fault. There's a lot of influence that's pushing you in that direction. And the people like us who talk about real relationships and real relationship experiences, we don't get that loud voice like that.
No.
You know, how easy can it get telling you to just enjoy dating? Just enjoy it. The other phase will come, you know, but rushing it is your enemy.
And if the other phase doesn't come, you didn't lose anything.
Nope.
Nothing happened.
Nope. There's plenty of other people that have that phase with here. Plenty of other young ladies here. You are not going to run out of young ladies here. You know, it's just not going to happen. So, this crashing out thing that's happening to a lot of you, oh, they're playing the long game. Look, I don't want to hear the next person talk about the long game in the comment section getting deleted. You're getting kicked out. You know, we don't want to keep talking about this first grade stuff. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of you that come here talking about that, obviously you haven't been seeing our videos where I've talked about that extensively. You know, how you gonna get long gamed dating? This video ain't even been about nothing past dating. We didn't put no cap on it. We didn't put no time on it. We ain't even put no ring on that date.
Let's see how many of the comments.
Yeah, but it's always but you gotta be. Yeah, come on, listen, man. This is not the channel for you. We trying to tell you how to do it. We're trying to show you how to make it happen. It ain't just us. We didn't get lucky. We put in work for this to get here like this. For us to arrive at this space we at now, and at this point, we have gone through so many phases, you know, and we got stripes for that. And that's why we say it with our chest. You know what I'm saying? I like that one a little bit better than mine. But we say it with our chest. You know what I'm saying? And we joke, we made light of it because there's so much anger and so much hostility and so much trauma that is filling the airwaves on social media that we got to bring something light to it. You know?
We watch YouTube a lot together, and we just saw a female YouTuber say something that was so simple that it was just genius. And she said, well, you know, I'm gonna get into this, I'm getting into this relationship, and you know, if it doesn't work, oh well, then it just doesn't work, then I'll just, you know, meet somebody else later on. And she was like, you know, I'm not afraid to get into a relationship. I mean, what's the worst that's gonna happen? You're gonna get into a relationship, or it works or it doesn't work. And it was so simple, you know, and it was so, and I was like, exactly. And my husband was like, exactly.
Feelings hurt.
It's just so simple and so honest, and actually very sweet.
Yeah, just simplified. It's gotten, you know, you guys don't know that there are guys who have made so much money off of this type of messaging.
The gurus.
They made a lot of money off of that, and you got to think about it. They made a lot of money making you hate relationships. And so, you know, it's been turned into this complex, you know, this complex situation where now we're literally sitting here talking about dating and how simple dating is. But that's because the messaging has strayed so far away from the simple things and getting to know a person. And they're like, no, because they're like this and that. Look, man, there's some that's like that. Some of you are like that, you know? But listen, if you're like that and you that means you're compatible with someone that's like that. Still a match made in heaven.
Hey, I learned a new vocabulary word the other day. It's called furu. A fake guru. A furu.
A furu.
A furu. A fake guru.
Listen, if whoever thinks relationships, you know, are gonna end, they're heading off a cliff. Relationships aren't going anywhere. We're gonna keep pushing relationships. We're gonna keep promoting relationships with love, purpose, and passports. And that's why we have that name, you know, and we're going to keep showing you the way to do this. We're going to keep sharing our experiences. And here's the thing. Most of the stuff we tell you is not like, follow what we said, exactly how we said it. We ain't never even told you to get married. We ain't told you to do nothing. You know, we find that, you know, a lot of times we just got to back it all the way up. Hey, yo, pause, you know, and just show y'all and tell y'all how to get through the beginning phases of things without crashing. You know what I'm saying? Without, you know, feelings being hurt and all that stuff. This is fun. You know, you're missing out a lot. You know, when I started coming to the island, there was no manosphere red pill things going on. It was just like, it's on. We getting ready. You know, some guys were, you know, may find themselves in a, you know, a situation where they, you know, a little, you know, emotional and little things went kind of wrong, or they're about to make some bad decisions. But look, it was all part of the game. It didn't change their whole life. Like, you know, now they hate somebody or hate, you know, we had to do a little intervention. Like, nah, man, you know, hey, get yourself together. That was the norm. And that's what y'all don't get. That's the norm, that you get here and you might go off the rail a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Because you ain't really, you know, you enjoying yourself too much. A lot. You really dig who you hollering at or who you with or whatever, and it may not be right for you. But don't ever think that that's outside the norm and that means they're wicked, because a lot of times you getting here and you don't even know what's what yet. So you're the one that has to go through a phase of, understanding where you at, understanding what the culture's like, understanding what the women's like, and getting used to it. But that's another video for another day. You know what I'm saying? It feels like we ain't even gonna go to another transition because we already here at the closing. We want the best for you. We want you to date, have fun, and then we'll tell you what to do next.
No.
Enjoy yourself. Love, purpose, and passports.
Bye.
Oh.
Uh-huh.
We forgot to tell you we enjoyed ourselves so much. We want you to like and subscribe. Love, purpose, and passports.
That's the love, purpose, and like and subscribe.
Love, purpose, and dating.
Bye.
Peace.